Loud. And here we go. I'm Carol Daniel, talk show host and news anchor here at KMOX Radio in St. Louis, Missouri. Welcome to my series for Black History Month that I am calling Living History. So I'm highlighting people who are history makers who are walking amongst us right now. And my next guest is definitely one of those. She is a friend of mine. I told her I'm going to be transparent because I just really have been honored and I've so enjoyed getting to know her and spending time with her. Simone Cummings is the Dean of the Walker School of Business and Technology at Webster University in Webster Groves, Missouri. And we've had dinner together. We have had many long conversations, but I don't know everything about Dr. Simone Cummings. So I'm so glad to have you as a part of my Living History, Black History Month series, Simone.
Well, thank you, Carol. And, that was such an introduction. And I tell you, I am blessed truly to have you as a friend. I really am. I enjoy all the time that we spend together, and getting to know you over the past several years has been a joy. You were a blessing in my life, and I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I know that you got because I can read, that you got your bachelor's degree in business administration from Washington University here in St. Louis, your master's from WashU as well in health administration, and your PhD from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill in health policy and administration. But really, who was Simone, the 10-year-old?
Oh my gosh, you're going way back.
Yes, Simone, I am. I want to know because that journey is what brought us to today, Simone Cummings' Living History.
Okay. Well, that's kind of interesting. Simone, the 10-year-old. So I'll tell you, Simone, the 10-year-old, always thought she wanted to go into business. So my father was an executive, a businessman, and he worked for Nestle Purina. I saw the kinds of things that he did. And I thought, when I grow up, that's what I want to do too. So I was always interested in business from a young age. I don't know that I had any real aspirations, but I wanted to be an executive and I wanted to run things. So that was essentially Simone as a 10-year-old.
So I do know this about you, or at least have this sense about you, that as I wouldn't call you a quiet person, not that you're loud, but I just wouldn't describe you as I wouldn't say she's quiet. I would never say that. But you are you're low key. But I also have always felt that that low key, don't let that low keyness fool you, that she is a woman in charge.
Well, I certainly try to be, but I'm of this mindset that you don't have to put it out there like that. You can be yourself, be your calm, collected self. And, I really want to think before I act. And so, that's important to me, to really act with thought and to be professional in everything I do out in public.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up here in St. Louis. I grew up in U City, product of the U City school system at the beginning. Went to high school here, Lutheran North High School, which was a wonderful institution, and really enjoyed growing up here in St. Louis. It's really nice when you grow up here and then you have a chance to go away and you get an opportunity to really see the blessings that exist here in this region. So I was extremely happy to come back, and I'm just blessed to be here.
You went away to DC, right?
Yeah. So initially, after grad school, after I got my master's degree, I moved to DC, worked in DC for a while, and then went back to school to UNC Chapel Hill to get my doctorate. Moved from North Carolina to Boston, lived and worked in Boston for a while, and then got the opportunity to come back to St. Louis to teach at WashU.
I'm sure as the dean of the George Herbert Walker School of Business and Technology at Webster University, you can tell me the percentage of African Americans who have PhDs. And even if you can't tell me, I think you and I both know that it's a very small number.
It is a small number. I cannot tell you the exact percentage. I cannot tell you that, but it is a small number. Yes.
So
Mhm.
talk to me about the decision at that time to get a PhD. What I'm a fly on the wall. What was that decision like? What
You
went
know,
into that?
it really started when I was in grad school working on my master's degree. In my particular program, I have a master's degree in health administration. And in that program, we had to do a lot of reading, as you do in most master's degree programs. And I did a lot of research on healthcare for African Americans. And I
Mm,
saw all of these researchers who were doing all of this work. And a lot of the things I was reading at the time, I had concerns about in the sense that, I didn't think the research was done well. And I thought I could do a better job than what these individuals were doing. Now that's a lot of hubris to think, as a master's level student, I can do better than this. I can write better than this. And, I started thinking, I should do this. I should tell our story because these people out here are not telling our story in the way it should be told.
mm.
And so that's when I really started thinking, okay, I should get a doctorate. And so, at the time, I needed to, complete this journey for my master's degree. I was in a program that was set to do a residency following the completion of my master's degree. So I went ahead, I did my residency, got a job at the hospital in which I did my residency. But all the while, I was thinking, eventually, at some point in my life, I'm going to go back and get this doctorate. So the hospital I went to work at in DC began having financial difficulty. And I started thinking, okay, well, what is my next move from here? I can go to another hospital or I can go back to school. And I decided that I would go back to school earlier than I had originally planned and applied and was successful and decided to go back. So that's sort of the trail of my decision there.
And you did do a lot of research, and you have published a lot of articles in a number of journals, and we'll get to that in a second. But I want to say, Simone, that at 60 years old, to this day, I still am in touch with teachers I had in middle and high school. I had a
Mhm.
handful of teachers who really made a difference in my educational experience. They stand out, and I'm curious if the same is true for you.
It is interesting because I do have, I mean, these are people I would call friends right now who, were former students of mine. I was a relatively young PhD when I initially came out and came back to WashU. So I think I was in my maybe, oh gosh, I had to be maybe 27, 28,
Mm,
something like that. And I can give you an example. One of my close girlfriends she's a healthcare executive here in the region. She works for Mercy, but she was one of my former students. And
wow.
I still see her. We still go out and, have a good time. I have a number of former students that I would include or count as friends at this point. They're all older, they're married, they have kids now and so forth. But it's just that relationship, particularly I think students who come through programs and don't often see people who look like themselves
Yeah.
really want to connect, on a deeper level.
And that's you having impact on them, right?
Well, I mean, I think it's me having an impact on them, but them also having an impact on me because when students come back to you over time and they share with you the impact that you've made on them, I mean, it's amazing. It does
Yeah.
a lot for you. It makes you feel like you've had this mission in life
Right.
and you've done what you're supposed to do.
Legacy.
That's
Absolutely.
exactly it.
So, Simone, in talking about your father as an executive, was he the greatest influence? I mean, the answer is supposed to be yes, but were there teachers in middle school and high school? Was there a Sunday school teacher who influenced you as well in U City and other high school, in the other high and Lutheran?
I would say, my dad probably was my biggest influence, but along the way, you never know how people are going to influence your life. So I just had a conversation the other day, and I was talking about one of my English professors when I was in high school. And, he probably never even knew this because I didn't tell him, but I had a paper that was due once. And I thought, for my whole life, I've had all this uber confidence. So, I'm in high school and I'm thinking I'm just this fabulous writer and, I deserve A's on all my papers because I'm so great. And this instructor, teacher, gave me a C on a paper that I thought was fabulous. And, I looked at that and I kept reading it. And, at the time, I just thought it was rather ridiculous that he gave me the C. And so in my mind, I thought, okay, I'm going to really focus and I am not getting another C on a paper here. And he obviously didn't know about my skill set. So anyway, I was talking about this because, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, I was doing some cleaning in my basement and I found that paper because I had kept it all this time. So I found the paper and I'm going through and I'm reading it and I'm like, oh my gosh,
it's terrible.
Okay, well, this is obviously, if I had to grade that paper now, it would be a C paper.
Wow.
But, as I look back, that instructor, that teacher really did inspire me to buckle down and ensure that I never got another C because, I just couldn't believe it at the time. But, those kind of things make a difference. And I think sometimes, we experience things in life like that. And we don't realize at the time how beneficial it is for us, to maybe get knocked down a little bit, but you learn from those experiences and you move forward.
So when you were appointed, or appointed is the word, as the new dean there, this is 2017, June of 2017, I hadn't met you yet, but then I began to hear about you and I hadn't seen a photo. I didn't know who you were until I did. So when I did meet you, I thought, yeah, she's the first Black woman to be the dean there, I believe. Yeah, that wasn't in the announcement, right? Or at least one of the announcements I read that wasn't in the announcement. Did you know you were the first? And how did you feel about being the first? And maybe your feeling's different now than it was in 2017. You've had the job a while.
Yeah. How did I feel? I was not the first Black person who was dean of the School of Business. So prior to my coming into this role, Benjamin Akande was the dean of the School of Business. And so in my mindset, even though I was, the first African-American woman, I didn't feel as though I was really the first here because Benjamin really broke that barrier. So, I think in life, we feel like, or I feel like, it's 2023. You shouldn't, or even in 2017, we really shouldn't have these firsts, even though we do.
We do.
But, my goal is just to move everything forward, to do what I need to do and
do a good job.
Exactly. So I really wasn't focused on being the first African-American woman.
Maybe you were, because Dr. Akande left a big footprint. He was very visible. He
did.
He was very, he wasn't outspoken, but he had a great deal to say. And Simone, he was a great interview. So once you're a great interview, we are all calling you stories all the time. And he was very willing.
Right. He was willing. He's charismatic. Yes.
Yeah. All of that.
So he and I, you know, initially, so the way this actually worked out, before I became dean, I was associate dean. And so Dean Conde was here, and you know, uh, we talked, and he invited me to serve as his associate dean. So, I was excited about this opportunity because he is very much, charismatic person. He enjoys being out in the public. And I thought, okay, you can be the face of the school and be out here, and I'll work inside the school. And, essentially, I'll be the COO doing all of the operational things, and you go out and, have this high visibility position. So 2 weeks, and maybe not even 2 weeks after I accepted that role as associate dean, he came to me and said, Simone, I hate to tell you this, but I have this opportunity and I'm leaving Webster University. And I thought, oh my goodness. I was so looking forward to, the two of us being a team and working together. And it's all worked out. He's been a fabulous mentor to me. He is absolutely wonderful. And, I talk about all my blessings, but he is definitely one of them.
And he's still connected.
Yes.
I love that story. I did not realize, I didn't know that part of it, that it was that short a time after you accepted that invitation to be associate dean I didn't know it was that it transpired that quickly.
It was quick. I served as associate dean for a while though. So that happened in 2015. I didn't become dean until 2017.
Right. Well, now then, but you have stepped out.
Yes.
And have you stepped out by necessity and still a little, are you comfortable? I guess is the question.
Oh yeah, I am comfortable. What I like to do here, because the Walker School it's a great institution. Webster University is a great institution. And I want to make sure that people understand that there is more to this institution than me. And so when I have opportunities, I want to share the wealth. And generally speaking, I'm trying to figure out who on our faculty is best able to talk about specific issues. So on a regular basis, I'm trying to find members of our faculty who are, experts in certain areas to go out in the media and to shine a light on the fact that we have a lot of great faculty here at Webster, a lot of good people.
Simone, why is it important to show up as this excellent, talented, in charge Black woman that you are?
I would tell you that it means a lot to me to be a good mentor. It means a lot to me to have that visibility for people who are struggling and who are thinking that they can't possibly aspire to higher levels. When I talk to students, it's amazing how often, especially women, and they can be Black women, white women, it doesn't really matter, but how often they tell me that they aren't interested in becoming a manager, or they aren't interested in moving up. They just want to stay in a particular role. And when I talk to them about why don't you want to move up here? Why don't you want to be a CEO? Why don't you aspire to do greater things? I shouldn't say it like that, greater things, but why don't you aspire to rise higher? A lot of times they'll tell me things like, I've never really thought about it, or it never, crossed my mind. So it's not that, I really just want this job, or I really want to stay at this income level. It's really, I just never really thought about it. And I think sometimes people don't think about it because other people don't ask. They don't see other people in those roles. They can't envision themselves doing more. And I want to be that person for others that, oh, she's done it. I can do this too. I always like talking to students about how I'm a regular person. I grew up in New City. I like going to clubs. I like hanging out with my friends. I do the things everybody else does that they kind of don't think that I do. So, you think about, you know, I don't know, going to clubs, going to bars. I was out the other night. I was over at the Zodiac over on Grand.
I love it.
I like hanging out. I like doing the things I do. And, I want people to know that, just because got a doctorate or a master's degree, or you work at this level in an organization, does not mean that you are in any way different from anyone else, does not mean that you grew up in any way differently from anyone else.
You and I talk about our kids often. You have two daughters, I have two sons. And when I early in my marriage, Patrick started talking about legacy. And I thought, big, heavy word. I'm just trying to get these boys fed and get them to daycare on time and get to work. I am not necessarily, I'm trying to do a good job, and make a living. And I have a career, I have a degree, but I wasn't thinking legacy. And early in our marriage, early in our parenting, really, he was thinking legacy. And so I am curious, Dr. Simone Cummings, what at this point in your life, you've done enough that you can say there's legacy already, but what do you think your legacy is at this stage of your life?
My legacy. You know, Sometimes I think about this, which sounds kind of crazy because I don't like flying. So whenever I'm on a plane, I always think about dying.
Yes.
Like, okay, if this plane goes down, what does this mean? And I have to say lately, I always think, okay, if the plane goes down and I'm no longer here, I'm good. I'm not going to feel as if I have work to be done. There are things I want to do in life, without a doubt. But, my kids are old enough. One's a junior at UNC. The other one just graduated from WashU. I'm excited about what they're going to do in the future. I love all the work that I've done here at Webster and here in the Walker School in terms of moving things forward. I feel as though I've got plans in place that someone else could take over. I look at life and feel like I've made a difference in other people's lives and they're going to go forward. So, I'm happy. I mean, you can't ask for more than that in life.
I will add to your answer that I believe, and I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but I believe a part of your legacy is the friend that you are to many people. And,
you're so
the
sweet.
woman, the way in which you have showed up and you have had conversations with me at times. I know, I did a Barbara Walters to myself. I made myself cry. I would say that's a part of your legacy, that the advice that you have given me over the years, and the friendship you have shown me is most definitely a part of your legacy. I have to tell
that's so sweet of you to say that. I told you I was over at the Zodiac the other night, and I was over there with a young woman. I'll call her a young woman. She's in her 30s. And, we were sitting there having drinks, talking, and, she said, I really appreciate you. It means a lot for, someone who's older and had this experience to spend this time and, just to talk to me and to be real, about life and relationships and, being a Black woman who's trying to achieve things and trying to move forward, because it's not easy.
Right.
It's not easy. And I think it's important. It's important to me to be very transparent and to be honest with people I speak with, that, you always try to do the right thing. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. And sometimes your path moves in different directions. And sometimes you have to move in different directions with it too. But it's it's always easier if you can share that with someone, and you know that someone is going to listen to you and is going to give you their best advice for moving forward. Best advice. That's what that's what people want. And that's what I try to provide.
It is indeed what you have provided. Dr. Simone Cummings is the Dean of the George Herbert Walker School of Business and Technology at Webster University. And Simone, you are indeed living history. Thank you so much.
You are so sweet. Thank you, Carol.
I had no expectation that I didn't know. I didn't know I was going to cry.
Oh my God. You know what? You made me